Daryl Kruger tops the Sector 1 times.
Fastest Sector 1 of the session. Mike
Just wanted to say hello to everybody. Been a while.
Hello. What's the matter?
How you doing, man?
Howdy.
I'm good. Had a nice rest. Now I'm ready to go again.
Green Sector 1 for J. Tammy. In AM, Norm Graf tops the times, 1:46.1. In PRO, Daniel Kirby goes fastest with a 1:46.1. Carl Struhol finding time in Sector 1. A new personal best Sector 1 there for Frank Radosti.
Somebody's voice activation just slightly
It comes off and on ever so often.
That's Matthew Overton's best Sector 2 of the session.
I see you
Trouble
haven't
for
left
Gilliland
anything
in
behind,
PRO.
John.
Let's see what happened.
Well, like I said, I'm relaxed. Just wait till we get into the drama of it.
I think he'll do fine.
Back live, Norm Graf sitting P2. A new session best through Sector 1 for Norm Graf. Issues for Daniel Kirby in the PRO class. Watch the incident. We rejoin the race. James Bowder's running P11. Michael Lott goes green in Sector 1. Carl Struhel continues to improve through Sector 2. Frank Radosti has problems in AM. On the replay now. We're back live. James Bowder's now P11. Matthew Overton improves in Sector 1.
Okay, a couple more minutes, folks, and then we're to the race brief.
Yeah, a couple more minutes.
Yeah, that's what I said, a couple more minutes.
It's Daniel who's leaking.
Daniel that was leaking, wasn't me. I don't feel so bad anymore. Okay. Well, timer says it's time for the race brief, everybody. So if you could please go to the pit, and we'll get going. Frank. Thank you, Frank. Great. Thank you, everybody, for being out today. It's good to see a nice crowd, a lot of familiar faces, and it should mean for a good competition. Things are moving along nicely in this series, and Road-Am should be a great day for racing. So as usual, we've got 15 minutes for qualifying and limited number of laps, and then we have a 46 lap race, which is actually 45 because we're doing a rolling pace lap. I was going to do it with the pace car today. However, on rechecking the pace of the pace car, it was like 180 to 200 kilometers an hour. I said, yeah, that's not going to work. So there we are. We won't be doing that. So 46 laps, of which 45 are racing, and the normal thing: start with standing start, roll off in pairs. We get around the course if you have to. A couple of the twisty bits, just spread out in single file, and then as we come back on the start-finish line, back into pairs. We've got 11 cars, so Oddman Charlie can pick the left or right, the back, whatever they like. And then 80 kilometers an hour, please, for the starting pair, the front pair up to the start-finish line. And then when you get there, it's start racing at start-finish, so no acceleration, no passing before then. And you can, of course, drag your brakes to warm them up, the tires as well. but no weaving and no brake checking and that sort of thing, no hard acceleration. Orange zone is from the start through to corner 11, which is after the carousel, and we turn on to the back straight there. So and then we're off and running from there. Normal rules apply, and as we've established here, time penalties will from the stewards be applied to this race. RF2 penalties obviously have to be served in will be served in the race as you're going. Where are we at here? Blue flag, normal set of rules, blue flag. I think everyone's good there. We do have the full course yellow in this, but I hope we don't have to use it. I'm sure we won't. And push to pass is enabled. So 200 seconds total and a max of 20 per lap, none for the Q session. Track limits are in effect and they do work. So just watch what you're doing. One tire on the road surface, which includes white line at all times. If you violate that, whether RF2 gives you a penalty or not, you can be submitted for an IRR by your competitors if you do it repeatedly in the area. For this race, turns 2, 4, and 11A, so the slight corners we're going over the ridge over the hill in after turn 1, the slight bend in the first straight as you're coming along to the downhill, that's a straight, and then going after you go through the kink is a corner. That slow left-handers heading up for Canada corner, that is not a corner either. Stay right when you're coming up off turn 14, heading for the pit row. Up you go. Don't forget your pit limiter. Stay in the fast lane, not in the pit lanes. In you go and out you go. As you come out, make sure that you are staying within the pit exit. That's all the way through to the end of the dotted line. If you cross the dotted line, you are going to get the attention of RF2, and it might give you some penalty points. So stay all the way to the end. As far as we're concerned, the pit lane goes all the way to the end of the dotted line. So stay there and make sure you stay on the right when you're going around T1. Be aware of traffic coming along behind you, and the traffic that's on a hot lap as traffic is leaving. Make sure you leave room for the traffic as they're going through T1. You have to do that. Both tires have to be used during the race. Don't forget your speed limiter when you're in the pit. Golden rule, as always, and people know how to do the IRR, and we don't have to worry about lights. Last but not least, I think everyone should know about the Control Alt Delete or Alt F4, disconnect your cable to close RF2 and rejoin. If you hit escape, your race is over, and you'll be a DNF getting no points. Any questions? Excellent.
Everyone starts at the start-finish line?
Yes. So as you cross the start-finish in pairs, when your pair crosses it, you're off and running. Okay? All right. If there is no further questions, I'm going to take us to the next session. And we can get started on the quali.
We'll keep an eye on Gilles Lalonde's situation. That's practice. Green flag for qualifying. 15 minutes to find the limit. Daniel Kirby is out on a flying lap. Out on a flyer, Karl Struhel. Trouble for Norm Graf in AM. James Bowder's beginning a flying lap now. Matthew Overton is out on a flying lap. Out on a flyer, Michael Lock. On board with Gilles Lalonde, chasing Karl Struhel for P8. John Maher beginning a flying lap now. Darrell Kruger going for a time. Out on a flyer, J. Tummy. Gilles Lalonde on a hot lap. James Bowders stays P5 in AM after that lap. Frank Radosti is out on a flying lap. John Maher cannot improve in PRO, remains P5. Normgraf beginning a flying lap now. Nobody quicker than Daniel Kirby in Sector 2. Darrell Kruger fastest in AM with a 1:49.3. Sector 1 improvement for Gilles Lalonde. James Bowders has found some pace in the last few laps. Micah Locke improves in PRO with a 1:45.6. Good Sector 1 for Darrell Kruger. Frank Radosti continues to improve through Sector 2. Fast through Sector 1 for James Bowders. Carl Struhel through Sector 1 quickly. 10 minutes to go. Darrell Kruger sets a personal best through Sector 1. The times are coming down for J. Tammy. James Bowders improves in Sector 1. PRO John Maher in trouble. Here's the replay. Back to the action, and Frank Radosti's up to P10. No improvement for Michael Lock in PRO, stays P2. Daniel Kirby stays P1 in PRO after that lap. Norm Graf is struggling to maintain the pace. Let's see what happened. Back live, Darrell Kruger sitting P8. Matthew Overton cannot improve in PRO, remains P4. Daniel Kirby sets the benchmark in Sector 3. On the replay now. We're back live. Matthew Overton now P5. Darrell Kruger is getting into a rhythm now. Excellent first sector for Michael Lock. Quicker laps now from Matthew Overton. No improvement for Frank Radosti in AM, stays P5. Jay Tammy stays P3 in PRO after that lap. Gilles Rolandas found some pace in the last few laps. The lap times are starting to drop off for Karl Struhl. Jade Tammy with a strong opening sector. Norm Graf through Sector 1 quickly. Excellent first sector for Daniel Kirby. Carl Struhol cannot improve in AM, remains P3. Two minutes left in the session. One minute remaining. Good sector one for Frank Radosti. And here is how the PRO grid lines up, covered by just 2.9 seconds. AM qualifying done, and around 4.5 seconds separates pole from the slowest classified runner. In PRO, Daniel Kirby in the number 90 Dallara IR18 on pole with 145.2. Micah Locke in the number 202 Dallara IRA18 second with 145.6. Cheek Tammy in the number 201 Dallara IRA18 third with 146.6. Now for AM, Norm Graf in the number 1 Dallara IR18 takes pole with 147.5.
Okay, that's everyone. Top three, Daniel, Mika, and JT getting into the 45s. Very nice. Top AM was Norm into 46s, and Daryl and Carl rounding out the top three of the AMs after that. Very nice laps, guys. Very nice. Should be an interesting race. So we've got 10 minutes to get everything all tickied up for the race, and then we go.
Warm-up session underway. 10 minutes to prepare. Qualifying complete.
Daniel, did you fix your mic? Because you were bleeding at the beginning.
It's been on push to talk this whole time, so I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah, you need to adjust the pickup so it's a little bit higher.
It's on push to talk. It's 0 dB.
I don't
Yeah,
think
it
it was
should-
him doing it.
He didn't say it was push to talk.
I think I did.
Kirby did. Yeah, Kirby said
he
it was
did.
push to talk.
He did.
How's it making noise then?
I don't think it was him.
Yeah, I saw it as green.
Daniel. It was Daniel
It
Kirby.
depends on when the what the level of interaction with push and talk is. Oh no, that's not wrong. What am I talking about?
In the heat of the moment, maybe he's hitting it. There's a finger sliding on. Hell, I don't know. We all heard it though.
Keep your hands on the wheel. Quit fiddling with the mic.
All right. Doubt he's doing that.
And he's on pole.
Norm graph has problems in AM. Watch the incident. back to the action, and Daniel Kirby's up to P1. Trouble for Michael Lock in PRO. Here's the replay. Back live, Norm Graf sitting P2.
Hey everybody, got about 20 seconds left.
warm-up done, onto the race. On board with Norm Graf, chasing G. Tammy for third.
Seconds left. Remember, it's a full pace lap, and then as we cross the start finish, that's where everyone in pairs starts racing.
And we're underway. It's been a difficult day for Norm Graf, down from P4 to P11. Norm Graf takes P1 in AM. Matthew Overton up 1 place to P4 in PRO. Daryl Kruger works through traffic. J. Tammy clears the slower car. Gilles Lalonde on the move in PRO, up to P3. Gilles Lalonde takes back P4 in PRO. Gilles Lalonde reclaims P5 in PRO. Carl Struhel climbs 1 position in the AIM class. Carl Struhel takes P3 in AM. Not this time. Matthew Overton stays P4 in PRO. Great progress from James Bowders, now P3 in AM. And we have a new PRO leader, Michael Ock. Michael Ock gets it done into P1 in PRO. Daniel Kirby takes the lead in PRO. Daniel Kirby holds P1 in PRO. Time to meet the grid, 11 entries in 2 classes. Leading the field, PRO. At the front of PRO, Daniel Kirby in the number 90 Dallara ART. At P2, Michael Ock in the number 202 Dallara IR18. J. Tammy in the number 201 Dallara IR18. P3.
Good, everybody.
P4, Gilles Lalonde in the number 203 Dallara IR18. Matthew Overton, number 174 Dallara IR18. P5. John Maher in the number 88 Dallara IR18 P6. Moving on to AM. Top of AM, Norm Graf in the number 1 Dallara IR18. P2, Daryl Kruger in the number 404 Dallara IR18. At P3, Carl Struhel in the number 42 Dallara IR18.
Have a good race, everybody.
James Bowders, number 92 Dallara IR18 P4. Frank Radosti in the number 403 Dallara IR18 P5. Matthew Overton all over Norm Graf for 4th. John Maher all over Matthew Overton for 6th. Matthew Overton up 1 place to P4 in PRO. Daniel Kirby moves into P1 in PRO. Carl Struhel climbs 1 position in the AM class. Daryl Kruger all over John Maher for P7. They're away. James Bowders on the move in AM, up to P3. Let's see Carl Struhol's move on James Bowders in AM. 3 cars scrapping over P9, Carl Struhol, James Bowders and Frank Radosti. And we're back live, AM, Norm Graf up to P1. Norm Graf all over J. Tammy for 3rd. Michael Lock all over Daniel Kirby for the lead. They're nose to tail, 0.3 seconds apart. On board with Norm Graf chasing G. Tammy for 3rd. They've traded blows for over a minute and counting.
Last corner.
After over a minute, neither driver is backing down.
It's clear.
In PRO, Daniel Kirby tops the times 150.9. M leader, Norm Graf, 155.8. Here's John Maher's pass on Gilles Lalonde in PRO. Back to the action, and Gilles Lalonde's up to P7. On board with Gilles Lalonde, chasing John Maher for 6th. Daryl Kruger struggling, now P10 from a P7 start. Frank Radosti up 1 place to P4 in AM. You couldn't separate these two with a sheet of paper. We have a fight for position here. Frank Radosti closing right up. On the replay now. Trouble for John Maher in PRO. We're back live, Daniel Kirby now P1. Daryl Kruger works through traffic. And James Bowders drops out of the race from P11. On board with J. Tommy, chasing Michael Lock for 2nd. Daniel Kirby leads 4 laps in. Jay Tammy running in P3. A new personal best sector 1 there for Norm Graff. Norm Graff is pulling away, gap up by 6.4 seconds. Gilles Lalonde is quicker through the first sector. Darrell Kruger finding time in sector 1. John Mayer heading into pit lane. P10 for John Maher, a quiet run so far. Pit stop for James Bowders, currently P11. Pit stop complete for John Maher. Quicker laps now from Daniel Kirby. Jay Tammy is getting into a rhythm now. Nobody quicker than Norm Graff in sector 2. The times are coming down from Matthew Overton. Quicker laps now from Carl Struhol. Darrell Kruger has found some pace in the last few laps. John Maher sets a personal best through sector 2. Micah Locke has the advantage through the middle sector. Lap 6 of 46 for Matthew Overton. On board with Frank Radosti, chasing Carl Struhol for P7. Here's that AM pass by Frank Radosti on Carl Struhol. We rejoin the race, Michael Locke running P2. Let's look back at something we missed earlier. Back live, Michael Lock sitting P2. The times are coming down for Frank Radosti. Darrell Kruger holding P8. Carl Struhl maintaining P9. James Bowder's back out on track. While we were elsewhere, James Bowder stopped on track on lap 2. We're back live, Daniel Kirby now P1. Quicker laps now from Gilles Lalonde.
R11 slow, 3 wheels.
Gap down to 6.8 seconds for Darrell Kruger. Darrell Kruger has been quicker, pulling away. Michael Lock carries more speed through the middle sector. Gap now 4.1 seconds for Jay Tummy. Norm Graff is getting into a rhythm now. Meanwhile, James Bowder's pitting from P11. Gilles Lalonde with 37 left to run. Michael Lock defending for all they're worth. Frank Radosti heading into pit lane. Darrell Kruger climbs one position in the AM class. P9 Frank Radosti keeping it clean. Frank Radosti rejoins from the pits. Pit stop for Michael Lock, currently P2. Daniel Kirby leads by 4 seconds. G. Tammy on the move in PRO, up to P2. Meanwhile, Norm Graf pitting from P4. Michael Lock running in P3. Gap is stretching out for Gilles Lalonde. Matthew Overton has been one of the big movers, up 3 from P6 to P3. Pit stop complete for Michael Lock. Daryl Kruger has ducked into the pits from P7. Pit stop for Karl Struhel, currently P8. Lights out and away we go. John Maher rejoins from the pits. JT Tommy tops the sector 3 times. Norm Graf heading into pit lane. Meanwhile, Frank Radusty pitting from P7. Sector 1 improvement for Norm Graf. Carl Struhl up 1 place to P2 in AM. Frank Radusty goes green in Sector 1. The first sector is where Michael Ock pulls away. P9 Darrell Kruger, keeping it clean. Darrell Kruger climbs 1 position in the AM class. Norm Graf back out on track. Pit stop complete for Frank Radusty. John Maher improves in Sector 2. On board with Michael Ock, chasing G. Tammy for second. G. Tammy accelerating harder from the final sector. James Bowder's finding time in Sector 2. That's where Darrell Kruger is making time through the first sector. Matthew Overton continues to improve through Sector 3. Sector 3 improvement for Gilles Lalonde. .3 seconds the margin for Frank Radusty in P9. Daniel Kirby out front and pulling away, 28 laps in. Michael Lock maintaining P3. issues for Gil Lalonde in the PRO class. On the replay now. Back Frank Radosti sitting P9. Pit stop for Gil Lalonde, currently P5. Gilles Lalonde running in P5. Daniel Kirby goes purple in Sector 3. Fastest Sector 1 of the session, G. Tammy. John Maher on lap 26.20 to go. Times are coming down for James Bowders. The lap times are starting to drop off for Matthew Overton. Great progress from Norm Graff, now P2 in AM. Gap now 15.6 seconds for Darrell Kruger. Darrell Kruger extending the lead. You could set your watch by Daniel Kirby's lap times. Frank Radosti up one place to P3 in AM. Here's something interesting we missed. Back to the action, and Daniel Kirby's up to P1. Matthew Overton is building a cushion. Michael Locke rejoins from the pits. Losing a bit of pace now, Carl Struhal. Matthew Overton heading into pit lane. Norm Graff is getting into a rhythm now. Lap 30 of 46 for Matthew Overton. Daniel Kirby still in control up front. Daniel Kirby in from the lead for a pit stop. J. Tammy has ducked into the pits from P2. Better traction for J. Tammy out of the final sector. J. Tammy cruising in P2. Darrell Kruger is losing touch with Frank Radosti. Matthew Overton is quicker on the power out of the final sector. Daniel Kirby back out on track. Pit stop complete for Jay Tammy. Micah Locke is struggling to maintain the pace. Pit stop for Carl Struhal, currently P6. Meanwhile, James Bowders pitting from P11. Traffic for Norm Graf PRO car ahead. Norm Graf and Carl Struhal trading advantages through the first and final sectors. Quicker laps now from Frank Radosti. Norm Graf has been quicker, pulling away. Carl Struhal rejoins from the pits. But times are coming down for John Maher. Daryl Kruger is getting into a rhythm now. Matthew Overton is faster in, but Gilles Lalonde gets the better exit from the first and final sectors. JT Tammy's pace is fading. G Tammy is building a cushion. Watch the incident. We're back live. JT Tammy now P2. Norm Graf maintaining P6. While we were elsewhere, Carl Struhal stopped on track on lap 30. Back left Daniel Kirby sitting P1. The lap times are starting to drop off for Gilles Lalonde. The leader Daniel Kirby has built a gap. Daniel Kirby 33 laps in, holding a 4-second lead. Daniel Kirby maintaining the lead. The leader Daniel Kirby has built a gap. Daniel Kirby still in control up front. Daniel Kirby leading the race. Frank Radosti heading into pit lane. Here's the replay. We rejoin the race. JT Tammy running P2. Norm Graf is quicker through the first sector. J Tammy has been faster, closing in on Daniel Kirby. James Bowders holding P11. Frank Radosti back out on track. John Maher had a significant problem on lap 30. Here's what we missed. We're back live. Daniel Kirby now P1. Daniel Kirby out front with a comfortable gap. PRO John Maher in trouble. On the replay now. Back to the action, and Jay Tammy's up to P2. Different approaches at the first and final sectors. JT Tammy carries more speed. Michael Lock accelerates harder. The first sector is where John Maher pulls away. Frank Radosti is losing touch with Carl Struhor. Frank Radosti and John Maher trading time through the first and final sectors. Norm Graf with the entry, Darrell Kruger with the exit at the first and final sectors. Pit stop complete for John Maher. The gap is stretching out for Matthew Overton. Norm Graf is making time through the middle sector. Let's look back at when John Maher came to a halt on lap 31. We rejoin the race. Daniel Kirby running P1. Green sector 3 for James Bowders. Norm Graf has ducked into the pits from P6. Daniel Kirby looking strong in first place. Jill Londa's been quicker, pulling away. Frank Radosti consistently faster through the first sector. Frank Radosti rejoins from the pits. A gap of 4 seconds for leader Daniel Kirby. Norm Graf back out on track. Daryl Kruger is quicker through the first sector. P8 Carl Struhel 3.3 back from the next car. Daniel Kirby leading the race. That's James Boders' best Sector 1 of the session. The first sector is where Carl Struhel pulls away. Daryl Kruger is pulling away, gap up by 3.6 seconds. Gilles Lalande's problems in PRO. Watch the incident. We're back live. Daniel Kirby now P1. While the action has quieted down, let's revisit an earlier moment. Back to the action, and JT Tammy's up to P2. Sector 3 improvement for John Maher. Pit stop complete for Gilles Lalonde. Green Sector 2 for Frank Radosti. Meanwhile, Matthew Overton pitting from P4. Carl Struhol accelerating harder from the final sector. Norm Graf extending the lead. Micah Locke heading into pit lane. Matthew Overton rejoins from the pits. Pit stop for Daryl Kruger, currently P8. Daryl Kruger is losing touch with Carl Struhal. Daniel Kirby with a 4-second advantage at the front. John Maher in the PRO closing on Frank Radosti. Micah Locke is done for the day, retiring from P3. Daryl Kruger's faster in, but Frank Radosti gets the better exit from the first and final sectors. Meanwhile, JT Tummy pitting from P2. Daryl Kruger is out, retiring from P9. 5 left. Daniel Kirby back out on track. James Bowders heading into pit lane. Pit stop complete for Carl Struhol. John Maher brakes later. James Bowders exits faster at the first and final sectors. That's where John Maher is making time through the first sector. Gap down to 85.8 seconds for John Maher. Gilles Lalonde climbs 1 position in the PRO class. Carl Struhol and Frank Radosti trading advantages through the first and final sectors. James Bowders rejoins from the pits. Micah Locke struggling, now P6 from a P3 start. Daniel Kirby and JT Tammy trading time through the first and final sectors. J. Tammy is quicker through the first sector. Micah Locke consistently faster through the first sector. That's where John Maher is making time through the first sector. Frank Radosti all over Micah Locke for P7. Pit stop for Micah Locke, currently P7. Traffic cleared for Frank Radosti. Darrell Kruger is faster in, but James Bowders gets the better exit from the first and final sectors. Micah Locke back out on track. Micah Locke and John Maher trading advantages through the first and final sectors. Meanwhile, Frank Radosti pitting from P7. Micah Locke is quicker through the first sector. Two laps to go. Frank Radosti and Micah Locke trading time through the first and final sectors. Pit stop complete for Frank Radosti. J. Tammy all over Daniel Kirby for the lead. Carl Struhal finding time in Sector 1. Let's see Daniel Kirby's move on J. Tammy in PRO. Returning to Daniel Kirby in P1. Issues for Frank Radosti in the AM class. On board with JT Tammy chasing Daniel Kirby for the lead. John Maher rejoins from the pits. Gap now 83.3 seconds from Micah Locke. Different approaches at the first and final sectors. JT Tammy carries more speed. Matthew Overton accelerates harder. What a defensive drive from J. Tammy. Micah Locke is pulling away. Gap up by 26.4 seconds. Daniel Kirby wins the PRO. Second in PRO goes to J. Tammy. P3 in PRO, Matthew Overton. The AM winner is Norm Graf. Runner-up in AM, Carl Struhal. Third in AM is Frank Radosti. P4 in PRO, Gilles Lalonde. On to the rest of the PRO field, P5, Micah Locke. John Maher home P6 in PRO. Filling out the AM order, P4 Darrell Kruger. AM P5 for James Bowders.
Yeah, that's everybody.
Wonderful.
Good shit, Daniel.
Great pace up front, Daniel. Wow. And JT and Mika as well. What happened? Mika just disconnect?
No, I think I ran out of fuel in the pit box.
Oh, no.
And I couldn't reignite.
That's interesting. So congratulations, you, Daniel and JT. I'm the beneficiary of your misfortune, Mika, and I pick up third. And then it's Norm, Carl, and Frank for the top three of the AMs. Interesting stuff out there.
Well, I was on the primaries and went in the carousel too hot, touched the grass. I ended up having a 72-second stop.
Yikes.
Yeah, I thought something like that. So no,
Yeah, I saw you going by.
It was yellow in sector 2. Overton. James, run off.
Frank, you got to tell me what was the story with all them pit stops.
I completely botched my fuel.
I just couldn't believe it. You kept hitting, and I was like, well, it just sucks for you that happened.
Well, it's my own damn fault for not figuring it out right.
Danielle, you were squealing all race long.
Yeah, that was irritating.
Yeah, it seemed like every time you came out of the final corner, your mic would clip twice.
Yeah, we heard the same sound the whole race long.
It wasn't clicking. It was,
okay,
it was
disqualified.
No, don't disqualify him. Just 1 second penalty.